Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us here in the room. Thanks to everyone tuning in online. My name is Waisanen. I have the pleasure of leading product marketing for many of our Microsoft 365 Copilot and AI innovations. And I'm thrilled to be joined with my product leader here, Rachel Sirkin, who is building all of the great new innovations you're going to see today. One that we're very excited to share, something we call Project Opal. For those of you who attended 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗶𝐻𝗂𝗃's innovation session yesterday, you got a preview of this. And if you didn't, that's okay, because listen, we're going to do a deep dive. You're going to learn all about what Project Opal is. We really, though, want to show you where AI is going to empower a new way to work. And we're going to explore the experience end to end. You're going to see it all in action. Really want you to get a good understanding of all the capabilities and how we've built Project Opal from the ground up. And so by the end of this session, we're hoping that you walk away with some ideas and get inspired on how you can start to leverage Project Opal in your organization as it's now available in Frontier. You know, AI is obviously rapidly evolving at a pace unlike anything that we've seen before. Obviously, we're seeing more advanced innovations. You've seen a lot already. We're on day 2, but you saw a jam-packed set of net new capabilities like computer use. You saw new models coming, more proactive and autonomous behaviors that are really rethinking how organizations leverage AI to their advantage. And while AI is advancing, right, and giving us an ability to innovate much faster, it can also play a really valuable role in the existing work that happens today. Think of just the work that you have to do every day, like the common, mundane, repetitive tasks, right, that you're just doing day in and day out, that you and the teams are all in, right? And that work, of course, it's necessary and it's important to get done, but I'm sure you could be thinking about, gosh, if I had that time to be focused on things that would drive more strategic thinking, more creativity across the team, right? Higher kind of impact work that really allows you to move the business forward. And this is where the role of Project Opal comes in, right? We think it's designed to take care of those things that are like really manually intensive work, right? That you don't want to do, but again, it's still important. And we're also allowing you to always stay in the loop and stay in control, right? To date, you've had Copilot and agents that have been assisting you. And now we're bringing Project Opal into Microsoft 365 Copilot to get work done for you. So like I said, Project Opal introduces a new way to get task-based work done. And I'll just say, listen, we're in early stages, okay? But what you're going to see today is live working code. But just know that we're going to continue to iterate and learn. And we hope we can all learn together. So let's talk about the functionality that enables the Project Opal experience. There are 3 core capabilities that really help Project Opal get the work done. The first, when you think about an advanced reasoning model, you're going to see that allows you to, based on what you've asked Opal to do, it's going to take that request, it's going to break it down to the plan, it's going to help figure out what are the tools that I need to get the job done. The second around the Windows 365 Cloud PC, right? Opal is actually doing work on your behalf, and you're going to see it's actually going to spin up a secure and compliant Windows PC to get that work done. And then the third, computer use, right? We're already seeing how computer use is advancing so much of the way now that AI is able to navigate and browse different sites and applications just like all of us do, right? The clicks we have to go and things we have to type, all of that. Now computer use is a part of Project Opal as well. And as we've built Project Opal, there have been really specific product design principles that the team has been applying to really ensure that we deliver a product with these core foundational elements. The first around security and trust, right? Opal is going to be obviously accessing your enterprise content, and we want to make sure that remains secure and that you can handle and have all the relevant controls and safeguards in place to manage it appropriately. The second being around observability. Right? Of course, Project Opal is kind of designed to work autonomously. You want it to go and take care of stuff so you can focus on other things. At the same time, you want to be able to see what's all the activity happening real time, end to end, right? And so you can see what Opal is doing at any given step while it's doing the work along the way. The third around steerability, right? You're able to guide and steer Project Opal's work along the way, and of course, take control as needed. And then the fourth around just intelligence, right? Again, Project Opal, like you heard me say with that advanced reasoning model, given that it's doing a work similar to how a human would be doing things, right? It can move beyond just answering questions, like we see a lot of AI assisting today, but again, reasoning through the right workflows, choosing that right set of tools, all to accomplish the task at hand. So we're going to show you the experience that's rooted in a very real world scenario. Our engineering team here actually at Microsoft, they have a quarterly compliance audit. So much fun, but it's very necessary, right? And they've got to complete an audit of all of the products and services. They've got to show, like, listen, the way we're building these things, this is showing how we're doing it. You can imagine this kind of process. It includes collecting evidence, validating all those things, and it takes literally hundreds of hours for the team to do this. You can think about that time being better spent on actually like building the product. So the team has already started to use, though, Project Opal just to handle like the evidence collection. And you can see here on the chart, like by design, it's pretty time consuming, right? They've got to go to a site, they've got to take a screenshot, they've got to go to the work item in the ADO system, they've got to validate that, they've got to do that over and over and over. So you can just see the time that all takes. So with that, let's actually take a look at how Project Opal is helping the team execute this work. So over to you, Rachel.
Great, thank you so much, Amber. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start out in the Copilot app. So I'm really excited to show you guys Opal today. I'm gonna walk through 3 things today. So first, how Opal works, next, how Opal's built, and then third, how we're using it at Microsoft. So we're gonna start out in the Copilot app. You might notice that there's a new frontier item here. So if Opal is turned on in your tenant, you click that, you can just launch directly into Opal's web app. So this is the Opal homepage. It's where everything starts. It's really designed with tasks front and center. So here you can see a list of all of the tasks that I've run recently. So it includes both the description of the task I asked Opal to do, the status of that task, when I started it, and then the latest action that Opal has taken on that task. Jobs can be long running with this software. It's newer, but Opal is really here to help remove the toil and give you time back for that higher level work. So from this homepage, there are a few different ways that you can kick off a new job. The first one is in this overflow menu on any item. You can go ahead and click that and click repeat initial request. That will actually take the original prompt that you put in to run that task and put it into the next screen that we're going to see. You can change any details you want and then go ahead and kick that off. Or you can simply hit the new button. So on this page, you can see there are a couple of ways to start jobs. The first one is these 3 prompt starters that we've included here. Those prompt starters are set by your tenant admin, so you can really personalize it to the jobs that your organization is looking to get done. If you don't want to use those prompt starters, that's great too. You can just click into this box and describe the work that you would like Opal to do for you. So as Amber mentioned before, Opal is really built for these repetitive manual tasks, the kind of work that's creating toil and eating up your time, but maybe isn't providing that impact or value. And Opal frees up times and teams for that strategic work. So we talked about this great use case of compliance that we're testing with inside of Microsoft. So let's go ahead and take a look at this scenario in more detail that Amber mentioned before. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to click this prompt starter to input a prompt into the prompt box.
Rachel, question for you.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's so used to prompting with AI assistants today, and it's kind of what you put in is what you get back. How specific do you have to be, you know, given the task that you're asking Opal to complete?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our general guidance is you want to be pretty specific. I would think of onboarding Opal as almost like onboarding a new team member. If I went to a new team member and I said, hey, go do evidence collection for the compliance audit, they maybe wouldn't know what to do either. So the more details you can give it with site information or steps you want to take, the better it is. So in this case, I'll talk about also custom instructions later. And in this case, we've used some of our custom instructions in the tenant to help make this go more smoothly, which you can also look at for your own organizations. So I'm going to go ahead and just kick off this task. When I kick off this task, Opal is going to be doing a few different things behind the scenes. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to build out a plan with that advanced reasoning model. So you can see up in this upper corner, it's built out a plan that's talking about exactly what sites to go to, what steps to do on those sites. The second thing it's going to do is it's going to spin up a Windows 365 for Agents Cloud PC. You can see that starting to happen down in the bottom left. This is a secure execution environment. It's intra-joined, it's Intune enrolled, so it can operate over your enterprise content. One note that I'll give here, the very first time you use Opal, it may ask you to log in because it is operating on your behalf. That's expected behavior. In this case, it probably won't do that. And then the third thing that Opal will do is it's going to record every step that Opal takes. So on the right here, you can see this activity timeline, and it's recording that for observability. It's a real record of exactly what Opal's done, so you can either watch it in real time, or you can go back after the fact and look at what Opal's done. So it can take a little bit of time for this to get started, so I'm just going to hop over to a completed task so that we can take a look at it. I ran this completed compliance job this morning, and so this is a full view of it, and I'm going to take a second to just orient everyone in the UI that we're seeing. So like I mentioned before, there's a plan in the top left that's made by the advanced reasoning model, and it is going to show all of the steps that Opal actually took to complete the flow.
Rachel, can I ask you another question?
Yes.
Great that I see Opal is clearly, documented each step by step. What happens though, say, hey, things change, maybe you want to take a different approach. Can you do that? Can you change and edit the plan at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can always do a few things to edit what Opal's doing. The first thing is that you can always type into this prompt box to ask Opal to edit its plan. So I'm gonna, so originally the plan I actually asked it to go to Outlook as one of the evidence collection steps. And so this is the original plan that you're seeing that it wrote. And then as we scroll down and look at some of the communication that I sent, I actually asked Opal if it would, can you do Excel instead of Outlook? So mid-flow, I asked, can you switch what you're doing? And Opal was able to adjust its plan and adjust the actions that it was doing to go collect that evidence for Excel as well. I'll also show taking over the virtual machine in a little bit, but you can always message Opal to change what it's doing and ask it to adjust. The next thing I want to call out here is this computer view. So this is the Windows 365 Cloud PC where the task actually ran. It's logged in with the user's identity, so it's acting on your behalf when it's taking the steps. Opal can access any browser-based site or web app on Edge, and so that includes all of your LOB apps, public web, Microsoft web apps, and third-party apps as well. One of the features that I wanted to show you in this computer view is the scrubber bar, which I think is pretty powerful. So as Opal executes, it's not only capturing its work in the right activity, but you can also see that it takes a screenshot of every step along the way. So you're able to go back and visually confirm each step that Opal took along the flow to understand what happened and what Opal did when it made decisions. The next thing I'm going to show is this activity timeline on the right. So like I said before, this is the factual record of every action that Opal has taken. You can drill into all of the steps. So for example, you can start to expand some of these and show all of the steps that it took to do that larger action. This also captures all of the messages from Opal and from the user, so you can see in the timeline exactly where Opal asked me questions or where I gave Opal instructions as well. And the last piece I want to point out on this completed job is just this job complete status up top here. This is really a signal that the task has finished. And it's a quick summary of what it did to complete the task. So as trust builds with using Opal, you don't have to watch every step. I think even on our team, the first several times we were watching Opal work, we were trying to make sure that everything was going to plan. And as we've built up this trust and security with Opal, you can really just check back when the job is done, grab the results, and move on with your day. So just looking at this completed task, Opal is really designed not to be a black box. With the combination of the plan, the computer view, the timeline, and the job complete status, this is a fully observable piece of software that you can watch either in real time or review it later.
This is great. Rachel, another question for you. Yeah. Where is all of this information and data stored?
That's a great question. So all of the job-related data is stored in Substrate in the same place where your Exchange data is stored. Great. So we're actually going to go ahead and check back in on that live task that we kicked off at the beginning of the session. So you can see that this task is still running. Its status is still in progress. Just like cooking a good meal in a frying pan, it takes some time to deliver the best results. So here, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the plan that it made. So it starts out by saying that we're going to navigate to the compliance site, select the proper workload, and execute the query. It then asks to take the screenshot over to our bug tracker, and then it's going to upload that to the correct bug. It's going to find the associated bug, and then it's going to repeat that as well for Outlook. So the plan is always going to show you the step that it thinks Opal is on at that very moment, as well as the steps that it thinks Opal has completed. This is something we're looking to continue to improve, but so it is going to tell you where it thinks it is in the process. The other thing you can see over here is you can see the activity timeline updating in real time. As I've mentioned, this is the actual record of what Opal is doing. It won't always match the plan because the plan is made by that advanced reasoning model of how it thinks it should complete the task, and the right is really the actual steps that it has taken as that log or record. So if we scroll up here, we can see, you know, how long it's spent on different steps in here to, you know, go get that screenshot, for example, and all the sub steps that it took, and then uploading this screenshot. Another thing that I wanted to point out here is that this computer view is live. We had previously looked at a completed ticket with that scrubber bar, and now we're seeing Opal navigate a live cloud PC. So Opal is using computer use and using the computer just like a human would. So it's clicking, it's typing, it's scrolling, it's navigating just like a human would. And same thing here. So as you can see those motions, I'm not taking them, my hands are up here. But you can also scroll back and forth again to see that progress, even in a live task of what screenshots have been taken, or you can snap back up to where it is. One of the features that I wanted to call out is that Opal is, in addition to being designed for observability, designed for steerability. So if Opal identifies something that needs your attention, it's going to make a request in the UI or in browser notifications if you have them enabled to ask you to take over the cloud PC. In this case, it's yet to ask me to take over the cloud PC, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you what taking control looks like. You can always take over the cloud PC whenever you want. At this point, Opal has stopped acting and I am now in control of the cloud PC. So, you know, I can change the status of the bug to new, I could delete what it was doing, any changes that I want to make, I am fully in control. Then when I'm ready to hand it back to Opal, I can just go ahead and include a message that lets Opal reorient itself on and understand what I did. If you think about it, if you're working on a task and your colleague takes away your computer and does something and hands it back, the first thing you're going to have to do is figure out what your colleague did on your computer. Same thing for Opal. So the more information you can let it know, the better it's going to reorient itself. So in this case, I'm just going to say I changed the status of the bug to new, and I'm going to return control to Opal. At this point, Opal is going to just try to reorient itself and get back on track with that task. One other note, Opal will never collect screenshots when you're in control of the virtual machine. It only collects screenshots when it itself is taking over the virtual machine.
Right. Rachel, I like to see that you can, take control, but what happens, say you don't actually want Opal to complete the task, or maybe things have changed, right? Business priorities change all the time. The work we're doing may totally change in a different direction. What are the options that you have there?
Yeah, so there are several steerability pieces built in. So obviously, like I said, you can always take over control of the VM. You can write a message and ask Opal to change what it's doing. You can also always end the job. There's both an end job button up top and then in this menu as well. I'm going to pause to call out something cool that just happened. So Opal just, it has uploaded the screenshot into the bug. It is ready to hit that save button. But one of the things that Opal is designed to do is ask you before save or commit actions. We want to make sure that it's not taking kind of dangerous actions on your behalf. And so in this case, it's asking me, oh, the substrate workload is done and ready to go. I'm ready to click save. Would you like me to proceed? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and tell it, yes, please proceed. And it's going to keep on going with the task right there. As I'm typing in this box, it's a great time to talk about steerability with that messaging. So Opal adjusts what it's doing based on your input. So I think in the sample I showed, switch to Excel instead of Outlook, just to show it's a real live demo. In this case, I'm going to say, switch to PowerPoint instead of Outlook, please. So I'm going to go ahead and say that, and then Opal, as it starts to build up the plan for what it's going to do for Outlook, is actually going to switch that over to start evidence collecting for PowerPoint instead of for Outlook. All communications are going to be stored in that activity timeline, and we consider them a part of the history of that completed job, which is why they're showing up there. Great. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and show us is the admin portal. We really want to show how Opal is set up and managed and where the guardrails for your organization are when it comes to Opal. So Opal is an entirely opt-in experience within Frontier. So it's independently enabled by the admin in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and they can also choose which users they want to enable it for. It shows up under the Copilot settings. So only orgs that want it will have access, and you can limit the people that have access in your org as well. After that enablement in the Microsoft Admin Center, you then move over to this Opal admin portal, which is linked from the Microsoft Admin Center. The steps in the Opal admin portal are slightly more involved than a typical setup, but as we've said, Opal is still early in its journey. We'll continue to prioritize streamlining the process while still giving full control to each organization. So the very first step you're going to do to get this set up is run a PowerShell script. This gives Opal the permission to create resources. The second step that you're going to take is that you are going to create that pool of Windows 365 for Agents cloud PCs. So each job runs in its own cloud PC from that pool. Every PC in that pool is Entra joined and Intune enrolled by default. This ensures that we have a secure and compliant environment for every single task that you run. And then one note that I wanted to add here is after you enable this in the admin portal, it can take a little time to actually go create that pool. So your VM pool might not be immediately ready to go start running a job. Give it a beat, try it again. It'll get set up, I promise. Another key part of the admin experience that I wanted to talk through is the allow list. So by default right now, Opal cannot access any websites. Everything is blocked. Every single site is blocked by default. Admins decide which sites Opal can reach. This is so that your sensitive data and systems stay protected. We understand as the team building this that there's a real tension when it comes to Opal, which is the more access you give Opal, the more useful of a product it is. But the more access you give Opal, the scarier it becomes. And we really do care about that level of security. And we know that comfort levels vary when it comes to different organizations and autonomous work. So we really find the allow list to be a powerful and granular way to start small, build trust, and then expand the reach as you build that trust.
Rachel, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Maybe as your team has been using Opal, have you found like there's a set of sites that already you're like, oh, these are useful places to start, right? As you said, everything is blocked. This includes not just internal, but this is external as well, right?
Yeah. So our team has a few different things that we found really useful from the jump. So the first thing that we found useful is any sites that have human in the loop as a part of it. So think through any process that you're going where humans have to approve something if you submit a request. So for us, for example, expense reports was one of the first ones that came up. That's a great solution. Anywhere where data deletion or anything like that is recoverable or is not going to be super damaging, that's another great place to start. I would just really think through your team's workflows and then thinking through what you're comfortable testing and starting with. I will say we've gone through multiple rounds of responsible AI testing, and Opal sticks to the plan. You know, it's not something that we're super worried about at this point in it going off to the weeds, but it is still something to be mindful of and watch for. So like I said, security and transparency is a journey, and we're going to continue to invest in world-class security here because we know that we want to build trust with all of you guys, and we want organizations to feel comfortable unlocking more value with Opal as time goes on. The next piece that I wanted to call out are those custom instructions that I talked about earlier. So these custom instructions are written by the admin and can help hint about what certain sites do or help Opal understand the context and how to make better decision on those sites. So in this case, for example, some of the instructions that I've written are about this very specific compliance scenario, really giving it guidance of how to go about doing it. And then I said starters as well, so admins also control which starters they want to include so that it can be specific to your organization as well. And so some examples that we've shown are things like this compliance audit that we've talked through. I think Nicole showed some onboarding flows in her session. In this version, we also have some items around helping us with ADO for sprint planning, where a lot of that work is very manual, and so having Opal help there, and then also helping with some of our on-call rotations. And so these really just make common tasks easy to kick off for people in your organization.
I love that we're giving people, you know, a place to start. Speaking of, I know Opal's been hard at work. Can we check back in and see where it's at?
Yes, absolutely. So let's hop back. Okay, so in this case, let's see. So it said it needs my attention again. It generated and copied the PowerPoint work successfully, and then it said that there is no item currently for the PowerPoint service. So in this case is the place where Opal is blocked. So I could either tell it, hey, why don't you go create an item for the PowerPoint thing? I could take over and go create an item for the PowerPoint thing, evidence collection. So in this case, let me say, why don't we skip PowerPoint for now? Great, so in that case, it should decide that it is done with the task in the next couple of minutes and let me know that. But again, when Opal gets stuck, it's just gonna come back to you and ask for your guidance on what to do next, and you can help unblock it for what it wants to go do. Yeah, so that is Project Opal in practice. I'm going to interrupt myself actually and say, in this case, right, I said, let's skip PowerPoint. It said, great, then your task is done. It's ready for me to review with the plan all checked off, the computer view, and the ready for review section. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, end that job. That was a successful job for me. That's all I needed. Great, so that is Project Opal in practice. We watched today how it runs, how it's built, and how we're using it at Microsoft today. Just a recap on the admin story that we talked about. The admin story is that we want you to turn on Opal in the Microsoft Admin Center, set up a secure cloud PC pool for your organization, decide exactly what Opal can access, balancing value and comfort, add that context and guidance for Opal to be able to go do tasks more successfully, and make it easy for your users to get started with some of those prompt starters that we looked at as well. Great, and then on the product side today, you saw live compliance audit evidence collection task, and that included the plan updating in real time, the activity timeline as that source of truth, computer use in a live cloud PC, and all done in a way that is observable and steerable. In the future, we plan to expand this to include, for this scenario, more evidence collection as well as validation step, with the real goal of giving hundreds of hours back that is spent on this kind of work at Microsoft right now to engineers so that they can focus on more strategic work, actually building the products, more things that they can spend their brain cells on. Great, and then looking ahead, we are going to continue to improve this experience. This is, Project Opal. It's brand new. We're bringing this to you in Frontier, and so we're really looking for feedback and building this product out together. We're especially going to be working around security and transparency and control to make sure that all of these organizations feel comfortable with using Opal and testing Opal, with the goal of making this task-first approach really trustworthy at scale. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Amber.
Rachel, one thing, just as you were doing the prompt to call out, looks like you were using natural language, right? And so with Opal,
yes,
that is something that you can continue.
Yes, absolutely. Natural language is the way to go, and adding as many details to kind of direct someone who maybe didn't know what they were doing in that task is the way you're going to get Opal to be most successful.
Great, awesome. Thank you. Well, you just saw an example of how customers are already starting to use Project Opal, right? And we've actually had several early adopters already on this journey with us. And you can see they've started to really bring in Opal in a part of their workflows and teams. So for example, we've had one customer who said, gosh, in supply chain operations, right? We've got to manage inventory, we have to manage supplier distribution. Think about what it takes, right, to move inventory from one location to another, all of the data that is being looked at, all of the forms that have to be filled out, all of the processes, the documents that have to be reviewed. Opal's already starting to help that team. Another example, as you heard Rachel say, and what you saw maybe in Nicole's session yesterday, is from a new hire onboarding process, right? It's always exciting to bring new people to the team, but gosh, getting them set up to be successful is a whole other story, right? You got to get them the device, you've got to get them access to all the systems, add them to distribution lists, team sites, chats, you name it. You've got to share project documents, and Opal now can do those things for you. So again, this is of course all critical work that has to get done, but there's a lot of toil, right? There's a lot of repetition in these workflows that Project Opal, this is what it's designed to take care of. So as we shared, at the beginning, just throughout this, like, we are early in our journey. We're kind of wanting to get this into the hands of people who are willing to come and learn and help us shape the product, right? And so starting already this week, Project Opal is now available in the Frontier program for customers who have a Microsoft 365 license. So I encourage you, if you've got that deployed across your organization today, please come and give Opal a try. We really want to hear use cases of how you're like, gosh, this is where I could see Project Opal playing a really significant role. And we really want to go, iterate on the experience together. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have an expert meetup space. So if you haven't already made it over to the Moscone exhibit hall, please come by, talk to us at the booth. We want to hear, your thoughts, your feedback, your questions, and just enjoy the rest of Ignite. Thank you.